Taizen, you're already first. Hello. Hello. Good morning. Welcome in. And Shining Spear, you're also here. Hello. Let me get a glass of water ready for the inevitable request. Hello, 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 hello. It's been raining for 2 days. Uh, that was a non sequitur. That's what we call a non sequitur. I was watching a a tier list video where they were ranking different preparations of potato. And there was one on the list that I was unfamiliar with, and that was potato mochi. Um, and that was yesterday. So I was like, damn it, we're doing potato mochi. So that's what we're doing. We're doing potato mochi. I completely off the cuff this one, so I don't have any fillings prepared for them, so they might just be plain. Or we might fuss around and try to figure out if we can't mock something up to put inside of them. Who knows? Who really knows? The traditional fillings, near as I can tell, are red bean paste and cheese. And I don't have red bean paste. And weirdly enough, I don't have any of the right kind of cheeses. I don't have any melty cheeses. I've got all hard and crumbly cheeses right now. Or paneer, which doesn't melt either. Which is strange. I've eaten up all of my soft melty cheeses. I don't know. Feta is an option. We have feta. We have feta. We have parmesan. We have paneer. We have cotija, which is melty, but it's also crumbly. I'm not sure. Also, if we pop over here's the potatoes. This is all the potatoes. You'll notice discoloration on this one and this one. And that's because one of the potatoes in the bag went bad. And that was this one. I'm going to go ahead and throw that one away right now. I had it there because I wanted the nice decorative, all the potatoes. I tried picking out a good-looking bag of potatoes, but I guess I picked out one with one hidden gnarly guy way in the bottom that impacted his neighbors. Also, potatoes are dirty. Dirty potatoes. But I've never had potato mochi. I've never had potato mochi. It seems like a good idea. I like mochi. You can't see me. Yeah. I like mochi. I have no interest in making rice mochi because it takes a billion years. Exactly 1 billion years. Those are dirty potatoes. We're going to have to rinse the potatoes off anyways, so I guess I'll start doing that while I chit-chat about how I don't want to make rice mochi. But this stuff is supposed to be much, much easier than rice mochi. Because it's essentially make mashed potatoes and then turn them into a dough. So I'm guessing the name mochi is more a reference to their consistency than them actually being anything like actual rice mochi, which is made entirely of rice, but is pounded into a extremely fine powder until it binds, until it starts to bind. Uh, yeah. So I have no idea how long this is going to take either. We might have to have a secondary plan. I just realized I'm washing all the potatoes. I'm probably not going to use all the potatoes. That would be a lot. That would be many. Oh well. Can't stop now. I've already washed half the potatoes. Um, yes, when I was doing my research, I've not played Arceus, but when I was doing my research, that came up a lot of, oh, potato mochi, like they do have in Arceus. They remind me, looking at the how-to, it reminds me of croquettes. Not that I'm super familiar with croquettes. But I do have some recipes, and there's also a definitely Japanese sauce that every recipe says is a core component of it. So we're going with that. Even with the different fillings, sweet versus savory fillings, they all have the same sauce. So we're going with the same sauce. Oh, my fingers are cold. It's been chilly. It's been very chilly the past 2 days, which is unfortunate, but not cold enough for me to want to blast my furnace. So I've just let the house be kind of chilly. Oh, I had the angle. You should have been on this angle so you could see the back of my head while I was over here. And I could lean over and wave, but I had you looking at the counter. Ugh, so professional. Um, yes. What do you think we could put inside these things? I want to get the thought process rolling early on them. In case we need to prep something. I have a few odds and ends. I didn't go and pick up a great deal of stuff for this because it was just kind of a last moment. Hey, that'd be neat idea. But the core ingredients are very simple. The core ingredients of this are potatoes, which we have just rinsed the loose dirt off of. Potato starch, which I already had, which you could use cornstarch in place of this. You could use tapioca probably in place of this. You just need a vegetable starch. Potato starch, of course, is going to have the flavor of potato, and put more potato in your potato because we're going to have to dry it out because you got to make a dough. So you're going to have to add starch to this to make it have any chance of reaching that consistency. I believe you can just make them with water as the only liquid, but I will be using some heavy cream, which I noticed the date on this yesterday when I was looking at it. The date is April 3rd, and I was like, that's a month out. So I gave it a sniff, and it smelled fine. So I gave it a taste, and it tasted fine. So I don't know. The month out, but it's got all the properties of being perfectly fine, and it hasn't even separated. So we're using it. Yeah, the core components are very, very basic here. And these all say use butter and milk, but it's a 2-to-1 butter to milk. And that means that it's about a third butter fat, which is what heavy cream is. So instead of 2 tablespoons of milk and 1 tablespoon of butter, I'm going to use 3 tablespoons of heavy cream and say that that's identical. Because that's what butter is you've separated the fats out. And what cream is, it's essentially milk with more fat in it. And the proportions are almost on point. So we're doing that. We do need to get them started. I'm being moistened. Moist. Thank you for the moisten. Let's pop over to the countertop and bring back our damp potatoes. Going to measure this out using the scales. Just so we know how much we're working with. Wow, that bowl is exactly 200 grams. That's impressive. Good job, bowl manufacturers. Honestly, I'm unsure of the exact amounts we're shooting for here. Oops, that was the wrong button. I just teared a pile of potatoes. Okay. Potatoes. 800 grams of potatoes. We're going to lose a little bit when we peel them. I'm going to call that enough potato for the project at hand. And the remaining potatoes can all dry out. We probably should use this one specifically because it's got a cut on it. Any of the other ones have any damage to where we would want to use them up? This one. Opened a brand new bag of potatoes and noticed some of them were damaged. So we're going to use the damaged ones immediately because they're definitely going to be the ones that go off in storage. Put this guy back. Okay. I don't know how much this is anymore. Let's find out. A 1,000 grams of potatoes. I'll have extra of these. Yeah. That's what we need the scales for. That's all we needed the scales for. I just needed proportions. We are going to have to cook the potatoes, and that's the first decision we have to make. Because every one of these recipes says cook the potatoes however you'd like, and then they all give examples. And they all give different examples, which is every possible way you could think of to cook a potato. Baked, boiled whole, cubed and boiled, steamed, microwaved. So just those 5. That's every possible way to cook a potato. do. I don't really want to microwave them. I guess I'm just going to make mashed potatoes in the way that I'm most familiar. Because that's step one, is make mashed potato. So let's get out a big pot full of cold water. Because baking them is probably the best method overall, but it's also the longest. Potatoes cook much faster in a wet cooking method than a dry cooking method. Um, and I have no idea how long this is going to take anyway, so we might need to come up with something to kill time or consume time. Who knows? Very little planning went in today. It was like, oh, that's neat, let's do that, and then I started doing that. Let's get our board, our peeler. Start going to town on these potatoes. Oh, see. The reason I think baking is probably the best method is that boiling them the way I'm about to do will remove some of the starch that's in the potato into the cooking liquid. And since we're going for starchy potatoes, we're literally adding starch. That's going against us. It's fighting us a little bit. Although, the recipes do say, if you want a fluffier interior, use less starch. So maybe we're shooting for the fluffy style as opposed to the more chewy mochi style. But again, I've never had these or made them. Probably should just put that in the reverse order. I've never made these or even had them. So I don't know what we're aiming for. They just sound like a neat idea. Uh, Also, I think doing it this way for my specific potatoes is a good idea, since we did have some damage and some potential spoiled spots on some of our potatoes. So peeling them lets me take a peek at the interiors before we commit to cooking them, and I can cut away some of the potentially gnarly bits. Whereas if we baked them whole, we'd be stuck with whatever we had, because it'd be really difficult to separate once it was all cooked. I need to do more potato stuff. I like potatoes, I just don't cook with them often enough. Usually when I have potatoes and I'm like, oh, I should have potatoes, I'll just cube them up and fry them in a pan. I'll make home fries out of them, which are not. Oh, there's a big gnarly spot right there. What the heck? Home fries are not my favorite preparation of potatoes. They're just the easiest one to do when I'm like, oh, I should have potatoes. So I should be practicing different kinds of potatoes. Maybe I'll come up with ideas. Maybe I'll come up with some new favorite easy potato. Because you still have to peel them for home fries, so it's not like I'm saving on this step. Ugh, these potatoes are not my favorite. These specific potatoes have a lot of gnarly bits on them. Ah, shit. They get very slippery when you have the skins off. Okay, well, we're definitely losing some of the potato as we carve away the gnarly bits. We should probably reweigh them. Boil them, mash them, make them into mochi balls. Huh. These potatoes did not look this gnarly when I picked them up. I'm surprised that they're having this many like gnarly bits on them. Probably because this is not potato season and these were shipped from God knows where. Probably says on the package where they were shipped from. But I'm imagining South America because it is not potato season in the north here. It's the opposite of potato season. It's the beginning of spring. You're supposed to be planting your potatoes. You can maybe get new potatoes if you're in the south and planted them early. But for mature potatoes like this, no sir, that's the end of the summer. Into the fall, that's the season for them. Ow. I say ow, it actually hasn't cut my finger. It's just glanced off, which is good because I've the peeler has gone into my finger several times while I've been peeling just now. If it had been a knife, I would have definitely taken a chunk off. And if it had been a better peeler, I definitely would have taken a chunk off as well. Oh, jeez. Guys, what are you doing? It's like I got caught in a machine, which it probably did. That cut went almost all the way to the center of the potato. Okay. Well, our potatoes changed size. I'm curious how much we lost, especially on these small ones, which I did select specifically because they were a little bit gnarly. So maybe we'll add one. Maybe we'll add one more small one that has the potential to be a little bit gnarly. Riveting viewing, I'm sure, watching me peel potatoes and complain about how import potatoes that I'm getting out of season aren't the top qualityest thing I could have. Oh, boo-hoo. bag of potatoes from Argentina cost you $4. If your potatoes are sprouting, don't eat them. Plant them and have potatoes later. I want to know how much we lost. So we're going to put our potatoes minus the one I just did, which was that one. Well, we've got about 800 grams left when I include the extra one. So we lost. I think we lost nearly a third of our potato weight in peeling. Huh. I've never done that where I figure out how much I lost to the peeling. We did peel quite aggressively because of those gnarly spots. If your potatoes are in better shape, I don't think you lose that much, but interesting. Interesting. It's probably also some water weight because we did just wash them, so the skins were a little bit waterlogged. Oh, I did nick my finger. And then we're just going to cut them up into chunks. Potatoes are really quite a miraculous thing if you think about them. They're super easy to grow and propagate. There's a reason. They're so nutritious compared to like grains. Grains are very, very caloric, but they don't have a lot of nutrition. Now I skinned these, so if you want the nutrition from your potatoes, leave the skins on. But there's a reason when potatoes were brought back to Europe, and people eventually realized you could eat them. They caught on so hard because they were just so much easier to work with than a lot of the grain crops that had previously been the staples. And apparently, according to that one movie, you can grow them on Mars. Okay, let's start transferring to our cold water. The rule for boiling vegetables. I've said it before, I've repeated it, and I've also said that I don't know where it came from or if it has any validity, and that maybe we should test it sometime, is the old chef's rule is if it grows below ground, put it in cold water and bring it up to boiling. If it grows above water, boil the water and then put it in. Again, that's like old chef knowledge. No clue if it's got any validity. We should probably put it to the test. I'm sure people test it all the time. But I haven't tested it. That's all that matters. Me. Ow. This is a lot of potato. This is more potato than I typically do. We should have probably used a bigger pot. I'm going hard on potato. Usually when I'm cooking for myself, I make one potato, one of these sort of medium potatoes. And that's enough potato. So I hope these things are good. We're gonna have enough to do some practice rounds with them in case I ruin them. And it'll give us plenty of time to experiment with fillings. Okay. So our potatoes are in our water. They are, I mean, probably about a third of the way up the bottom of the pot. Let's make them hot. Let's make them all boily hot. How's your day going? How's breakfast in the land of chat? I haven't had breakfast yet. This is going to be my breakfast. I'm going to wash a couple things. I feel like we have a pretty forgiving schedule today, this morning. So I'm taking advantage of that and cleaning as I go. I kind of want a coffee. I haven't had coffee in a while. I mentioned this a while back that I was dialing back on coffee. Coffee and coffee Oreos, oatmeal and blueberries. Oreos are not a good breakfast. Oreos are not a good breakfast. I mentioned a while back, I think, that I've been really cut back on coffee because I used to have coffee every morning. But it got to the point where if I didn't have like I wasn't drinking excessive coffee, but it got to the point where if I didn't have my coffee in the morning, the next day I would have. It was never the same day. It was always the next day. I'd have a terrible headache. So I was clearly suffering from low-grade coffee dependence. And although I'll enjoy coffee, I really don't want to be dependent on it. So I just cold turkeyed myself on coffee until it went away. And now I only have it occasionally. When the mood strikes me, as opposed to a necessity. And you know what? The mood is striking me. So let's do that while our potatoes are trying to boil. We'll also boil some water. Make some coffee. See if we can't over stress my circuit in the kitchen here by running everything at once. I've also got some decaf. We could go with decaf. Let's see. Or did I use up my decaf? No, this is the decaf. My parents switched to decaf ages ago because they really like their coffee, but they don't want the caffeine. We're not going with decaf though. We're going with can't hardly see it. Jamaican Me Crazy from the Door County Coffee Co. I quite like this specific coffee. Oh, you've had it as well. I'm not a fan of every one of the Door County Coffee Co.'s flavors. I think that some of their like flavored coffees go too far. But this Jamaican blend is quite good and was the one I was drinking up to when I decided to roll it back. Sponsor me, Door County Coffee Co. I'll figure out how to use your coffees without caffeine dependency. Oh, let's see. The potatoes that I have not used. Grok chutney to the coffee or to the mochi? Because we were just talking about coffee, but the title's about mochi. Either way, well, it makes a big difference. Chutney in the coffee doesn't seem like a good combination to me, but maybe you know something I don't. Also, welcome in. How's it going? We're moving a little bit slow this morning. How's things in your neck of the woods? How's time zones? I know we get some people roll in from other places. I'm just moving the other potatoes to a rack so that they can dry off a bit because I don't want them to go soggy because then they'd all go bad. So the potato mochi could go with a chutney. I don't have a chutney on, or do I? Or do I? Because we were thinking about what to fill them with. I'm taking suggestions for fillings because I didn't have any fillings planned. Uh, and we've got some time to think about it. Yes, I'm moving the potatoes to a rack because it's drier there, so they won't go moldy. Exactly what I said. You interpreted it accurately. Potatoes. So I've got apples of two different varieties we could play with. I've been taste testing different apples because I'm a big fan of apples, but I often reach for the same kinds. So I've been buying all different apples lately just to taste test them. Ones in my hands here are Pink Lady, and I don't like them. These two are Cosmic Crisp, which I've been avoiding because they're very expensive. They're like $3 a pound for apples. These were on sale for half that. So I was like, ooh, finally, I'll give them a chance. Haven't tasted them yet. There they are. So we could try an apple filling. Near as I can tell, sweet and savory fillings both work fine. I've got one of these big weird avocados. It's big and weird, and it's an avocado. We could do an avocado filling. That might be fun. How do I slice this avocado? Well, I should crack this open. I should crack this guy open and show you the interior. This is recently discovered. Story about the avocados, because I don't think you were here. In fact, I know you weren't here because that was your first time chat just now. Um, so a couple months back, I grabbed one of these giant avocados to give it a try, and I didn't know what I was looking for. I tried treating it. They were all bright green, bright lime green like this. So I was like, oh, those look super underripe. I'll grab one and ripen it on the counter like I would with the small avocados, and then cut it open, see how it is. It never changed color. And eventually I cut it open and it was rotten on the inside, but it was still bright lime green on the outside. So I went and did some research. This variety of avocado never turns color. It always stays bright green on the outside. You can only tell its ripeness by giving it a squeeze. This one is nice and soft. It was not quite soft when I got it, which means we probably should open it up. But I will show you how to slice this avocado. I can do that right now. We just need a big knife. I guess we're committing to avocado. This is a lot of avocado. These things are massive. So I cut it the same way I would cut a small one, just a lot bigger. Huh. The seed went gnarly on this one. We're gonna have to scrape that middle bit out because it looks like the seed went off, but the avocado itself did not. So pardon me while I get rid of this kind of crunchy seed husk. It's just the husk separated from the seed. It was probably trying to sprout and then failed and then rotted. Thankfully, it did not affect the avocado flesh surrounding it. So what I've learned about these is they're not good for mashing. They're not really good guacamole avocados because they're a little bit less fatty. Like they're quite a bit less fatty, so they have less of a creaminess to them, which isn't bad. It makes them actually very good slicing avocado. This was labeled as a Florida avocado. Which I am not up to speed on. What is that emote? K-Kona. Unfamiliar. Global emote. Unfamiliar. So it tastes like your standard Hass avocado. Mostly, it's a bit less of a fatty flavor, a bit less of a creaminess. It takes quite well to slicing. And the skins come off pretty easily. Our potatoes are officially boiling. That's good. That's our main event. Yeah, the skin just came right off. That's something I quite like about them. They're you can do that with the small avocados if you quarter them like this. Um, but these, because they're a little bit firmer, I think is even easier to just grab the skin and yank it off. Um, tastes like an avocado. And here's the thing. They're pretty economical too. This big guy here, which is about 3 times the size of your standard little Hass avocado, if you account for the pit, probably more than that, was $1.50. And sometimes I'll find the Hass avocados cheaper than that, but usually this is the more economical one. It's just that they are not as easy to use if you don't know what you're doing. And I didn't know what I was doing the first couple of times, so I definitely ruined some avocado. So we could try avocado filled, and I think I would just slice them up and like construct a little ball around the avocado, and that would give us this creamy. Because even though I'm saying it's less creamy and less fatty than your standard Hass avocado, which it is, a little bit right there, which it is, it's still an avocado, so it still has that creamy avocado flavor. And also, despite my reading about them and saying you shouldn't mash them, I did mash one of them to make avocado toast, and it worked fine. I think if you were making a traditional guacamole, it would end up a little bit looser if you used this, but not like dramatically. All right, I'm going to pour my coffee. I've also got breadfruit. The breadfruit's coming back into season. I grabbed one. Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to be a good filling for a potato mochi because it's another starch. You couldn't see any of that because you were directly above it, but I just did a French press. Breadfruit's another starch, so it would be starch on starch on starch. So I think we're going to skip that. I wish I had red bean paste. Wish I had some red bean paste. I've got different kind of beans. We could do one filled with baked beans. Coffee. I got it out of a bag. It's this. This is the coffee. I don't know. Whatever this says. I like this coffee. I do. I like this coffee. I also like my coffee with a splash of milk or cream. The cream's already out because we're going to use it a little bit later, so I will use cream. Cheers. Yeah, it's a good coffee. I had another one from that was given. I didn't buy it. I probably would not have purchased it if or tasted it at all if I had not been gifted it. But I was gifted dark chocolate raspberry coffee from the same brand, and was it was real tasty, but it was too much sweet. It was just kind of it overwhelmed. It went too far. Oh, okay. I think if I'm avocado filling on my mochi, we probably do want to mash it up. We could make them like avocado toasts instead of like a guacamole. I don't have any tomato on hand, but we can do everything else that's in there. And that tomato would make it kind of watery anyways, so okay, here's what we're doing. Okay. Our avocado. We're gonna make an avocado chutney. I don't know that that makes sense. I don't know that those words that I just said make any sense, but here we are. Avocado. A little bit of lemon. I'm making like the stuff you would put on top of avocado toast, but we're gonna try to make it. We're gonna try to keep it thicker. Um, this is a sweetened balsamic glaze, and chili flake. Let's use some of our gochugaru in place of chili flake. Because I think it has more interesting flavor than just straight chili flake. The lemon and the vinegar will help this not turn brown. Avocado toast is pretty free form. Should we put shallots in this? I'm going to give it a dash of garlic powder. and some black pepper. And a pinch of salt. Then let's mash it up and taste it. And see what we're working with. We might need to thicken it. It's not going to melt. The thing is, it's not going to melt in the heat when we cook the mochis. So it doesn't have to be really firm. It just has to be thick enough that I can spoon it into the middle of a mochi. My potatoes just spit. We have an ad coming up in a couple of seconds, so heads up. Probably should check on the potatoes. They're probably ready to come out of there. Okay, the color's gone off a little bit. Let's taste this. Oh my. It actually needs more avocado. There's the ad coming up. Let's do a tester on one of our potato cubes. One of the big ones. Test for doneness. Basically no resistance to the middle. Nice and soft. We're draining those. We don't need that. Okay. Pop back over to the stove side. We're just going to scoop them out. Rather than try to use a colander, I'm just going for the old scoopy scoop. Now we need to let these cool off a little bit. We're not melting butter into them because we're going with cream. But we do want them to steam off quite a bit. And we're going to also have to make sure we drain any water that accumulates in the bottom, because these need to be relatively dry. Although it's not a hard necessity, we can correct by simply adding more potato starch. I think this would probably be one of those things you could do with the boxed, like, mashed potato flakes. That instant stuff, simply by virtue of it already being the right consistency. Okay, well, here's our potatoes. Here's our potatoes. They're a little bit too hot to handle, but we should mash them probably just right now. I'll use the flat bottom of the pot. No. Our goal here is to get to a dough-like consistency, but they need to be cool enough to handle because you shape them by hand. And they're currently boiling hot, and my poor little fingies simply cannot abide that. Where's my potato masher? Potato masher. Oh. Potato masher. Coffee before it gets cold. Mm. We're back from the ad, too. I wasn't paying attention. So we want all the chunks gone. This needs to be really well pulverized stuff, which also meant that we did want the potatoes cooked just to the point of falling apart, which is good because I wasn't paying attention to them. So if I had wanted a more firm potato, we would have lost out on them. But I have made quite a lot of this. Is very fluffy. These would be very good mashed potatoes. Let me tell you. If I wasn't making something else out of this, I'd be real happy to make mashed potatoes of that quality. Very pleased. Very pleased. I might need a slightly larger bowl, but this should actually become less voluminous as we work with it. And the fluffiness sort of tamps down. They're currently super fluffy. It's almost a shame what I'm going to do with these mashed potatoes, considering how nice they came out. But oh well. This wasn't mashed potato day. Let's add our heavy cream and start combining. Oh, man. Oh, man. I just want to eat these mashed potatoes. There's still lumps in here as well. We didn't get all the lumps. And we can see them now that it's less fluffy. Oh, taste the skin. Look at these mashed potatoes. They're real dense right now. The masher. We need the masher again. But there are some lumps in there, and this is going to be a mochi. It can't have lumps. We need a ricer, I think, to really get rid of every potential lump. I don't have that tool. These might be the best mashed potatoes I've ever made. These might be the best straight up mashed potatoes I've ever made. I am shocked. Probably overworking them now, but up until that moment, at least. Taste. So the issue here is they're still hot. They actually are forming pretty well. They actually are forming up a lot better than I was expecting to at this stage. 3 tablespoons per 100 grams. We had 800 grams. So the recipes want more liquid, and then they balance it out by adding starch. We will add some starch because I think this wants to be a little bit thicker than this, but not too much. And we haven't even added as much liquid as it calls for, so but again, I'm not sure what we're shooting for. I've never had these before. So some potato starch. It's cool enough to handle as well. It's still warm, but it's not boiling hot anymore. So we're gonna just use my fingers to get that in there. It's still pretty sticky at the bottom, so yeah, definitely sticky at the bottom still. So, scratch my earlier assessment. It's just at the top where it was starting to be soft or firm enough to mold. The whole thing has to be that consistency. So, we do need more starch. I'm not going to do it with my hands this time. I'm going to be careful not to cause a cloud. So we're going for a consistency of like a dough, where it's moldable, pliable, holds its shape. And isn't sticky, but is sticky enough that it'll stick to itself, but not so sticky that it'll stick to my hands or the tabletop or any of those things. We do not need this cutting board, and it has just reminded me that we do not need this cutting board. I got a bigger bowl for this. Okay. Nope. Nope. I'm tempted to grab the masher again and use it to sort of cut the starch in. So I'll do that. I'll grab the masher and use it to cut the starch into the mass. It'll also firm up as it cools. I think that's part of it, because we should let it cool off. But I want to get the ingredients in there and combined. Boy, it was a shame. What make and model is the chopping board? It's The Obsessive Chef by Fred, or possibly it's Fred by The Obsessive Chef. I'm not sure which of those is the brand and which of those is the thing. But that's the only make label on it. Welcome in, sweet AZ bro. I take it that means you're from Arizona. How's Arizona? I hear it's a desert down there. Or maybe you're not from Arizona. Maybe I'm mistaken. Welcome in. We're trying to get these potatoes, which were some of the best mashed potatoes I've ever made. We're trying to completely ruin them and turn them into the consistency of a bread dough. Or a mochi. No, we've got a project. I can't just eat it. We've already gone past the point of no return anyways. I just licked my hand that I was using to... The fillings are currently in flux. We convinced ourselves to do this to make one of the fillings. This is an avocado mash with lemon balsamic and gochugaru. I don't have any red bean, and I don't have the right kind of cheese to make either of the more traditional ones. We might make some plain ones with no filling. But I've never had these before. I've never made these before, so I'm kind of winging it. I'm kind of learning as I go. And I the thing I saw that inspired this was just yesterday. And I didn't give myself any real time to plan. Otherwise, I would have gone and found some red bean. Looks like we're getting there in terms of this being not sticking to my hands and a big old ball of dough. I don't trust it to hold the way bread dough would, but like I don't think I can roll it. It definitely does not feel springy or bouncy the way a bread dough would. But there you go. I made a ball of potato. Which we are now going to let rest while we work on the fillings. Wash my hands. Let it rest and make sure that all of the starch that we added is fully hydrated. Because you wouldn't really want to bite into a pocket of dusty potato starch. So back in the bowl, boil them, mash them, put them in a mochi. Shining Spear said that earlier. I guess it's the plan. I don't want it to dry out from this stage. So while we work on fillings, it's going to have plastic wrap on it and rest on the side. Okay, back to our fillings and our coffee, which we can't forget about. So I said just before I jumped over to do the potatoes, this stuff needs more avocado. So we're going to take another chunk of this giant avocado and include it. Because the flavors of the other stuff were coming out a little bit too strongly. But again, I've got a lot of the potato to work with, which means we have potential to make multiple different flavored mochis, potato mochis. Okay, give that a taste for. Yes. Yes. Okay. Ooh. That's very nice. Savory, creamy. Just a good amount of sweetness and sharpness sort of balancing out the middle. It needs a bite, a peppery bite, but not too much. That's chipotle pepper, ground chipotle pepper we just added. It's a very mild peppery bite, which is what I was shooting for. It's actually a little bit milder than I was expecting, which is good because I was shooting for pretty on the low end there, and I nailed it. Okay, that's one of our potential fillings. What else do you think? The traditional ones that are pitched are red bean and cheese. I can't make either of those on short notice. We could do? Ooh, we could do. Hmm. How would you feel about fish? Ooh, we might do that. We might pull that. Let's see if I can. If I've got a small one of these on tap. Yeah. Okay. We're gonna grab one of the small ones of these. That one. This is our salt-cured salmon from our salted salmon project. Which came out quite nicely, and I occasionally enjoy as a meal with a bowl of rice. This is one of the smaller ones. And we're going to cook it real quick. We're going to freak our camera out for a second with reflective surfaces. Goes on like so. Goes in the oven. Broil until you can smell it. Sorry, Saizan, you don't have to have the fish one if you don't want to. But I think it's a good potential option. I don't think that this necessarily has any... phrase this. I feel like potato mochi, conceptually, does not require a sweet filling. I'm making model of the baking tray. I don't know. It's one of these standard sheet aluminum trays. It's made by Volrath. Ow. Now it's dented. I got it at a kitchen supply store. I need to get a new one. I cut something on my large aluminum sheet tray, and it left a cross-shaped dent through the whole middle of it. And I was like, ah, shit. So I need one that's not dented. Avocado. We should do a sweet one. We should figure out how to do a sweet one. But again, it has to be thick enough to put in the middle of a mochi. So it can't be too loose. Ooh. It was all I almost apple. I do have some cheese. I have some mild cheddar. It's pre-shredded, but it was pushed to the back, and I didn't see it. from Wyomega cheese. Shredded is going to be awkward, but we could, I'm going to keep that out so I don't forget about it. We could do cheese, apple and cheese. We should taste one of these cosmic crisps that are supposed to be very, very sweet apples. Um, Apple. Okay, okay, okay. We can work with this. We can work with this. Let's sharpen up our knife. There's an ad coming up. Caution. There's an ad coming up. I'm going to slice the apple with a knife. We're tasting this Cosmic Crisp either way, Saizan. So I've never had one. I want to taste it. So we're going to taste it right now, live on the air. And how am I going to slice it? With a knife, right down the middle. Look, apple seeds. And then just kind of, oh, it's a very crisp apple. Tastes like an apple. It's not my favorite. Among apples, not my favorite. It's got a, it's very crisp, which is appealing. And it's got a good sort of sweetness and apple flavoring as an ad, so nobody can tell me. I'll hold off, or I'll repeat myself in a minute. It lacks tartness. I'm gonna have to do a whole like breakdown review of all the apples I can get a hold of at some point. I would eat that apple. I'm not sure if I would get it again. Welcome back from the ad. So, my review of this apple. It's sweet. I don't think it's cloyingly sweet. I don't think it's overly sweet. I actually think it's a bit less sweet than the Honeycrisp, which I typically avoid because they're too sweet. It's very crispy. It's got a very good, like, crisp texture to it. And a very mild apple flavor. But it lacks any kind of tartness. That's the thing. It's got no sharpness or tartness to it at all. So it's not that it's more sweet than other apples. It's that it doesn't have the acidity to balance that sweetness out. That's my That's my review of this apple. As a big fan of apple, I'm not a big fan of this apple. Um, I love the texture that they got for this apple. It's got this lovely crispy texture. Um, now that I've got it open, we're definitely going to have to eat the apple. The Pink Lady, I don't know if these are just bad Pink Ladies, but I was super disappointed in the Pink Lady. Um, a Macintosh, a nice Macintosh. That's a good apple. If I was selecting an apple to put in a mochi ball with cheese, I probably would select Granny Smith and then do like a brief cook on it. But if we wanted to use this apple as a filling, we would have to probably add a little bit of acidity to it, which we can do. We have the technology. Yeah, these Pink Ladies came from. Well, these are actually from USA. They tell you where they come from on the stickers. This came from Washington. Some of these apples are coming from Argentina right now because apple season is not currently apple seasoning in much of North America. Um, I found the skins of these Pink Ladies to be very plasticky and the flesh to be kind of mealy. I typically buy apples as just straight eating apples. So as an eating apple, I was disappointed in the Pink Lady here. And it was a very subdued flavor as well. Mm. This is growing on me a little bit as I snack on it. I still don't think I would go out of my way to purchase them, especially considering that they're often quite a lot more costly than most of the other apples there, and they're not good enough to warrant that cost. Catching them on a steep sale, I think they are worth the trouble. If you want a nice, just pick it up and eat it apple. Of course, once you've cut into an apple, you can't really save it. It's going to start going brown on you real quick. So, do we how do we use it? Do we want to cook it briefly, soften it up a little bit, try to make a, a cheesy chutney out of it? Do I have any cider vinegar? I think I finally used up the last of that cider vinegar. Or did I? I did not. I have a little bit of cider vinegar, which would give us our sharpness back. I would need to dice this up pretty small either way in order to get it inside of one of those mochis. If I'm going to dice it up real small, I want a bigger knife. I want the knife I used for the potatoes. Which means we're going to wash it. Okay. So I think that's the plan. I think we're going to have 3 fillings here. We're going to have avocado toast flavored filling. We're going to have apple chutney with cheese question mark filling. We're definitely not going to pre. I've decided already. We're definitely not going to pre-cook this stuff because they're going to get a little bit of a cook by virtue of being in the mochi balls when we fry them. So and then then we're going to go with one that's off the wall, which is salted salmon. And we're going to do this part pretty quickly because the apple is going to start trying to go brown on us real quick. This apple is sweet enough that I'm not going to add any additional sugar. And we only need a dash of vinegar, I think, to wake up the acidity and to make it balance it out. If you've ever noticed, apples go brown once you've cut into them. Happens pretty quickly. That is oxidation. And you can counteract the oxidation by adding an acid. Lemon juice is popular. Vinegar is also acidic. And this is apple cider vinegar, so we're keeping the appliness to it. If I didn't have apple cider vinegar, I probably would reach for the lemon juice. But the acid catches the oxygens as they're trying to oxidize the apple. They are more reactive than the apple. That also means that a tartar apple, which has more acid in it, will go brown more slowly, just by virtue of it already having some acid in it. Although no apple is acidic enough to withstand it for long. Same thing happens with avocados. Although these avocados, I've noticed, go brown much more slowly than the small ones. Another feature. Quite a lot of apple here. Do I want more? Do I want another piece? Ooh! It's gotten very sharp. let's throw another piece in with a little bit of a bigger dice to it because I think we went a teeny bit too ham on dicing them small. Okay. This is going to be interesting because this texture is unlike any of the recommended things. And then cheese, just apple vinegar and cheese. We can do that. The cheese will get melty. The cheese should get melty. I picked up this cheese with the intent of making Filipino spaghetti, which we still might do. If you've never had Filipino spaghetti or heard of it, it's very different and interesting. Okay. Apple and cheese. So we've got avocado toast flavor, apples and cheese flavor, and our third flavor, for which we need another bowl, and where are my tongs? Tongs, because they are hot, hot, hot. This beastie, who has been done for now a couple minutes, this is what the salted salmons look like now. I am super glad I did this with the salmon. This is such an easy thing to do. You pop it in the oven on the broiler. You just chuck them in frozen. Skin side up. And you just cook them until it's cooked all the way to the bottom, and then you're done. And that's it. The skin becomes very crispy. The salmon gets cooked through. It's quite salty, but it's such an easy thing. And now I keep my eyes peeled for on-sale salmon all the time, so I can make more. But we're doing, and then I just slap this on top of a bowl of rice. No other seasoning really required. No other salt, I should say, no other salt required. This thing gives all the salt you would ever need. And they were quite easy to make. It took me 3 days of curing, but it was a super simple process of just get in there and flip them every day. You flip them every 12 hours for 2 days. You take them out on the third day. So you put them in at noon. It's like Jesus. You take it out on the third day. And it's very salty. You can't eat this straight. You got to do something with it because it's very salty. The skins are great because they crisp up in the oven. Hear that crunch? It's a little bit salty to be eating straight. So this is one of the fillings that is, I don't want to say traditional, but like typical in onigiri, a salted, oop, that's moldy, a salted salmon. I was going to use cream cheese, but the cream cheese went off. I don't have any cream cheese. We need to cut it with something that's not salty. We're going to use sour cream. We're going to break it up with a fork. So, salted salmon mixed. I think they mix it with. Did they mix it with mayonnaise? Hold on. I gotta look it up. Salted salmon. I just pronounced the L in salmon for some reason. Onigiri. They just add it straight. I swear it's typically combined with. It's probably typically combined with mayonnaise. Honestly, which I have, and that would also cut the saltiness, cut through the saltiness with some fattiness. So let's do that. Gonna eat this pieces. Oh, we definitely need a moisten because this is some salty fish. So I'm going to have some moisten. Moist. Eat my crispy fish skin. Feel my blood pressure going up from the salt. Realize that the potato starch has been sitting here open on this damp day. And that's how you ruin your flours. And then wash it down with some coffee. Boy, I thought it was going to be a short day, and it turns out it's not. So we're going to throw in some mayonnaise to make like a salted tuna, like how you would serve salted tuna or unsalted tuna. Okay, let's give that a brief taster. Mmm, mmm, mmm. Ooh, that's really tasty. That'd go great in some onigiri. But really, that would go great in some onigiri. Okay, we're gonna have to eat that apple. I'm just gonna snack on that apple. We don't need the cutting board. Snack on the apple. I'm worried this is too loose, that it needs something to hold it. But what? But what? Well, while I'm thinking about that, let's get out our large flat bottom frying pan and our ball of potato, which has rested up quite nicely. It's still warm to the touch. We need butter, soy sauce, sugar, mirin, and sake, which I have all of those. But we need the butter to start with because these things are fried now in butter. And the potato is going to try to soak up some of the butter. So let's be a little cautious with it. I need the board back. I said I didn't need the cutting board, but I entirely need the cutting board. I'm going to start with half of this thing of butter, and we're going to be prepared to add more butter if we run out. We'll get that warming over there, and we'll start shaping these things over here. And now we do get rid of the board. And get out a holding tray. That one's still too hot to use for that. I don't know. Pizza pan. Pizza pan. Okay. So you're supposed to take like a piece of this stuff, which is the consistency of dough, and turn it into a puck. A larger puck than this. The consistency is actually really good. I'm quite pleased with that element of it. Take some filling. And then kind of encapsulate it. And filling has to be enclosed or we'll have leaks. Although none of my filling, well, okay, the cheese will potentially leak. The avocado stuff here is not going to because it's got nothing in it that can melt. And our dough is actually quite good at just being added onto. Because it's not a glutinous dough. So it's not springy, it's just like a paste. There you go. One. Kind of round out the shape a little bit. I think we should probably make 2 pucks and layer them on top instead of trying to fold the way I just did. Learning process. That also might have been too big. I don't know. So what if we make a thin disc of the right dimensions, take some filling, plunk it in there, and then take another bit and put it on top. That makes more sense. My butter is melty, and I'm going to turn the heat off so as to not brown it, because I can already tell my timing is off. Although that one was much easier to do. So that's our method. So that's our method, and then we just kind of gently shape them up. Okay. That's an apple one. Where's that fork? I'm going to need the fork to serve out the fish. Okay, okay. I will show you the platter of them made up when I get that far. I think I made the first one much too large. Helicopter just went over. We squeezed out a little bit. Now the fish one does have a potential to melt because it's got mayonnaise in it, and the mayonnaise will try to liquefy. So that one might spring a leak. I'm never going to be able to tell which ones of these are which. This is going to be an exciting roulette. Here's what I should do. Here's what I should do. Because this stuff is not sticking to itself, which means I can just get out a plate and make these pucks of the appropriate size. Okay, there's a bit of a learning curve on the old actual making of the things here, but I think we've got it worked out. That first one was too big. Second one had poor technique, but I think we've nailed the target method here. The fact that the stuff does not stick to itself unless you press it together is really very helpful. I somehow got a piece of cheese in the potato dough. These have got to come out at an even number, which I think they will. The stack is falling over. Two, 4, 6, 8, 10. Which gives us 5 more of the things, which gives us a total of 8 mochis. Mochi? Which does not split evenly among the 3 flavors, so we could just do a plain one. Okay, okay, okay. This guy can now be up here where we can see him. Let's try an avocado one with our new technique. Put a little bit more in that one. Why not? Okay. Round out the sides. It looks much better than the first avocado one already. That first avocado one, this one right here, I think we went too hard overall. That's probably going to be the stinker of the entire batch. Take some of our apple cheese mix. Squinch it all together. I'm impressed at how not difficult these things are to shape. And I'm also impressed, actually, by how much filling I can get into them without having any ruptures. I'm sure doing just a piece of cheese and shaping the potato around it would be the easiest thing. But these loose fillings actually are not that hard to get in there. I have in my head now potential. What if you did this? You could make soup dumplings out of this. Get some set gelatinized soup. And put it in the middle and then wrap the stuff around it. We're always thinking. We're always thinking. That would be really fun, I think. If you're not familiar with soup dumplings, they're little, like, steam buns. Oop, overfilled that one a little bit. They're like little steam buns. But they are filled with liquid soup. And the way they get that in there is they do like a solid gelatin thing, and then when it's cooked, it melts. I think these avocado ones might fall apart. Um, I just have a feeling. This is our last one. We have 3 avocado, 2 fish, and 2 apple. I think we're going to do 3 of the apple, 3 of the avocado, and just 2 of the fish. Before I commit to doing soup dumpling potato mochis, I am going to see how these actually perform in the cooking process. But at this stage, that is something I think is a real potential of this method. These things are pretty easy to put together too. You could do this as like a party food. They're not sticking to my hands, but they're definitely leaving a bit of a potato starch residue on my hands. Okay, let's get back over to our stovetop because now we are steamed hams. Grolk! Thank you for the moisten. Moist. I should probably make steamed hams at some point. But the meme is too powerful to ignore. The problem is April Fool's only comes around once a year. Because what I would want to do for steamed hams is the full process of the full stupid process. Let's get over on the stove because now we're on the stove part of the day, and I already know, I already tell that I want more butter. Let's get our sauce ready. I need to go to the other room here to grab the sake and the, oh, is the mirin over here? No, I think the mirin's in there with you guys. Do you see the mirin in there anywhere? Guys? Guys, mirin? Here's our mirin. Sake, mirin, soy. Oh, this guy. This one's going to be the first one through the breach. The first one I made is going to be the first one I cook. In fact, we're going to do all the avocado ones first. Because I am concerned about them. They may explode. Or maybe we should do them last because they might explode. Butter. Am I from Arizona? No, certainly not. I am from the frozen Northlands of Wisconsin. I've been to Arizona. New Zealand. Oh! Oh, interesting. I think you might be our first New Zealand viewer. At least that's told me that you're from New Zealand. Okay, let's do. No, I'm gonna do what I said I was gonna do. I'm gonna do the 3 avocado ones first. Because 2 of them have me concerned. This stuff is holding together. I think the avocado filling might be too soft for this, honestly. I think we may have gone a little bit too soft on the avocado filling. It's very tasty. It's got this lovely. I would put that on top of avocado toast all day long. Well, welcome in from New Zealand. I've never been to New Zealand. I've always wanted to visit. It looks like an absolutely lovely place in the pictures. In the moving pictures. Let's see. I was going to make my sauce mix, so it was ready to go when we got that far. So the sauce is a sweet and salty thing. Larger bowl. One size up on the bowl, we can remove that plate. I suppose in New Zealand you're just getting into winter. We've just finally emerged. I got to turn my furnace off this week. Finally. Although now it's chilly again, and I'm like, ugh. But I don't want to turn it back on at this stage. Tablespoon measure. We can get equal or proper proportions here. Tablespoon measure. So it's 2 parts soy sauce, 2 parts sugar, 1 part mirin, and 1 part sake. Or you can substitute the sake for mirin to make it even sweeter. I don't think I'm doing that part. We'll see how this turns out. Oh, you guys come over with me. So sugar, soy sauce, we should put the top on the sugar so I don't get stuff in it. Mirin, which is a sweetened, almost syrupy sweetened rice wine. It is alcoholic, but not very alcoholic. And $8, Jesus! If avocados cost that much, I would not be eating avocados. Wow! This giant avocado here that I've only used half of, not even half of, in our recipe today, cost me $1.50. Now that's U.S. dollars versus New Zealand dollars. I'm not sure what the exchange rate is. But this is about 3 times the size of your typical like little avocado. And I thought that was actually quite a good deal. We should check on those mochis. I don't want to burn them. Ooh. Ooh, they are soft. And that one is too heavy. Okay. We might flip them back and forth one more time. They're looking good. They're looking good. None of them exploded, and the only one that got damaged was because I poked it just now with this. So they didn't fall apart in the flip either, which is a good sign. I have more butter on standby in the event that these guys soak up all my butter, which I think they might do. But starchy foods in being fried like this tend to soak up a lot of the oil they're being cooked in. So I've been told by the internet that this sauce I've just made is called yaki sauce. And it is not meant to be served straight like this on account of the alcohol content. An Oriole! I have not seen an Oriole yet this year. If they're in town, then... Ooh. Ooh, that's interesting. It's sweet and salty, but you can taste that it's also an alcohol-based thing. Interesting. I want the temperature to be up on these. How long am I supposed to... recipe. Recipe will tell me. Fry until golden brown is all it says. I love Orioles. They are gorgeous. They're very angry too. They when they fight with each other, they make quite the racket. Mm. Got to eat this apple too. I will say, in the favor of, or in favor of the Cosmic Crisp here, it is very juicy, and it has an excellent texture. Hey, now that's a little bit more like the golden brown I was thinking of. Let's get this guy on that side. Ooh, I should get some nori ready, because you're supposed to serve these in a similar manner to onigiri, with a little bit of a nori handle so that your hands don't get greasy. These would be good to make on a griddle, I think. Or I wonder if you could bake these. My brainium is swirling around these things. They're working really well, which immediately has me thinking, what else can I do with this? I bet you if you brushed them down with melted butter and then baked them, on a relatively high heat, you could get that golden brown crust without overcooking the interior. We're going to experiment with these. I always say that. I've lost track of all the things that I've said I was going to revisit along the way. I'm going to need people like you, the viewer, to remind me what the heck I said I was going to do. Boy, I thought today was going to be a little bit of a short one, too. I said that twice now, but it's not been a short one. The surfaces, the upper surfaces are quite, or the surfaces that are golden brown are nice and like crispy. Dessert, I don't have a dessert planned. I think this is going to be what we're doing today. Just these. We'll give them some taste tests, and then we will wrap up. Bookwoman's going to be there. That's the golden brown I'm thinking of. Bookwoman's going to be a little bit sad she missed these today, I think. Let's rotate through to get them. Yeah, the sides, the outer edges are still soft enough that I keep damaging them, but also that I can stick them back together with the spatula. So I guess we'll see how that plays out. I'm going to need a rack to get these on a rack, which we can just put here as is. I don't think they're going to drip. I just think they need to kind of rest. We have an ad coming up. We will not have finished these until after the ad, so I'm not going to do anything about the ad. It's just going to be kind of me standing around frying things. Because they take a little bit longer to fry than I was expecting. How's the other side looking on this guy? See, I'm thinking of baking them because, or deep frying these would be primo. I'm concerned they wouldn't float at all. So maybe like a medium fry where it comes like halfway up the depth of them. Thinking of other ways. I'm thinking of other ways to cook these damn things. Let's get these three out of here so we can move on to the next three. Because I don't think we're going to get any more goodliness on them at this stage. Get our oil swirled around. Let's try the apple ones next. And the pan is now well and properly heated. Grill them. I don't think they're firm enough Yeah, these started sizzling immediately when I put them in. I think the pan was not quite hot enough when I started these guys. That's another issue. To get that good golden brown sear on the outside. Because really, I think what we're doing, because they're already cooked potatoes, and the fillings are all completely edible. Bookwoman is here in LAX. Amazing. In LAX. Yeesh. Well, here's the first 3 that came out. The pan was not quite hot enough when I started them. I don't know how much you've seen, but welcome in. Glad you're not missing out. The ad is coming up in a couple of seconds. We might need some more butter, because they are doing what I said they were going to do and soaking up the butter. Well, I'm glad I can entertain you even when you're in the airport. Butter. You were just able to connect. Well, welcome, welcome, welcome to the potato mochi. You've missed all the prep up to this point, and we are just frying them up. The first 3 over here were filled with this, which is essentially an avocado toast topping. It's mashed avocado, lemon, balsamic, chili, and salt. It's a little bit soft, I think. It's a little bit loose. And these guys were the ones I was most worried about. We did them first. The next 3 here are filled with this. Ugh. I can't hold because it's too loose, it'll fall out of the bowl. With, sorry, this, which is apple, cheddar cheese, and some cider vinegar, because the apple we used is a Cosmic Crisp and has no sourness to it at all. It is very, very, very sweet. And the third kind, which I only have 2 of, are filled with this, which is my homemade salted salmon mixed with some mayonnaise to cut the saltiness. And it is the most experimental of the 3 because it is a salty, savory flavor, whereas the recommended style for this are the only recommended flavors I could find, and I found them repeatedly, were red bean paste and cheese. Specifically mozzarella, because they wanted a really melty interior. The only cheese I had was a shredded cheese, so we went with some sort of apple cheese mix. And now we're frying them golden brown. And then we're going to sauce them, because there's also a sauce that goes with these. And I'm very pleased with how they are performing. We'll see how they taste, but I'm very pleased with how they are performing cook-wise. And it's got my wheels turning for other things we can do with these things. I've already forgotten the things I was pitching. I was saying methods I could think of cooking them, like baking or deep frying. Saizan recommended grilling, which I don't think will work with these. They're not as firm as they look. Delta is taking you to both coasts. LAX to Atlanta to the Midwest. Delightful. Delightful. Can't just go to like the middle. They don't have an airport in the middle. Of course not. I'm going to put my sake away. Well, I hope that I will be able to taste test these before you have to go. We could potentially taste test one of the done ones already. What? Think back. Think back now. Not too long ago, I suggested something I could do with these as a filling option, not as a method of cooking. What was it? What did I say? Soup. That's what I said. Soup dumplings. I said soup dumpling. I bet you could, although seeing how these performed, they might not have the structural integrity to stand a actually liquid interior. I kind of want to top these guys with just a little sprinkle of cheese to identify them, but it has to be only on the top. I wish I could send you one. I wish I could gift one through the screen at you, because I've got quite a few of them. Not enough for a party, but certainly enough to share a bit. I think they're a little bit bigger than the, ooh, that one's developing a beautiful golden brown. These ones are holding together better. I think we have learned that these don't take well to really soft fillings. I think that's a little bit of an issue. The apple filling is much more solid and secure. Okay. Well, I'm glad you could peek in briefly while you're traveling. I'm also eating the apple. I had to cut up an apple, but I didn't need to use all of it, so I've got chunks of apple over here that I'm just snacking on. Because it's going to go brown otherwise. This apple is growing on me as an eating option. I wish it had a little bit more sharpness to it, a little more tartness to it. I won't go out of my way for it, but if it's offered to me, I won't turn it down. I won't avoid it, but I won't seek it out. Which is, honestly, the majority of foods. These are probably just about there. So then we can do the last two, and then we can get into the wrap-up. I'm also thinking that you could probably bake these as a way to do a much larger batch of them for sharing, because otherwise you need a griddle top. Otherwise you would need some sort of griddle top to handle these. Or I suppose you could make them quite a bit smaller than this. All the pictures, all the people who make these things take pictures of them with nothing next to them for scale. So mine might be enormous because I have no idea how big they're supposed to be. And I feel like that's probably what happened, is that they're supposed to be like that big around, I think. But again, nobody gave me any scale on any of these things, so they might just be too, I don't know. I don't know. I'm going to call these guys GBD. Golden, brown, and delicious. So I need more butter. I do actually need more butter. They are soaking up the butter as they go. So, butter. Pan, of course, is nice and hot. Butter should melt very, very quickly. Get that boy swirled around. And then we will go for the most controversial of my flavor choices. Salted fish with mayonnaise. Which, as I said, is a classic and popular onigiri filling. And these aren't totally dissimilar to onigiri. They're just made with potatoes instead of rice. And they're mashed up instead of not mashed up. I have the high hopes for these, but they're also definitely the most experimental. Although all my flavors are ultimately experimental here, because none of these are the ones that are recommended to me. Rice flour, and they are crispier. Well, classic mochi is made with rice. It's just that it's very, very labor intensive to make the mochi part of it. These use all potato, although you can probably buy like with industrial process, they probably have pre-made powder like rice starch. I have to imagine. Uh, but yeah, but yeah. See, as I found it, dehydrated mochi. Because there are commercially available finished product mochis in the grocery store, and I guarantee you they don't. Oh, I poked that one. I guarantee you they don't have people there with hammers pounding the mochi. Oh, well, glad you could hang out. We're not quite done with them, so I can't break one open to taste test them. Have a good flight. Don't let Atlanta get you down. I do love apples. Even apples I'm not a big fan of. I just love apples. These things take longer to fry than I was expecting, which is one of the top reasons I want to figure out if I can't do them in a bit of a more fast method. Ooh. Although, I said that, these two are going a little bit faster. But we're zooming in on it. We're closing in on it here for sure. It won't be very much longer before we get to the tasting portion. I'm going to wipe up this little butter spill before it hardens. Just realized it wasn't standard oil, but was in fact butter. And if I let it cool off before I clean it up, it will be more difficult. Yeah. How you coming? Nope. Nope, not quite. Oh, thank you for the moisten. Moist. Okay. I know I know this part of cooking is so dull. Because it's just me standing around talking, but I have to pay attention. I can't do something else because I have to keep paying attention to these. And also something else to do at this stage. There's nothing else. There's nothing else really to do at this. I wish I had a. I don't have any bread right now. I wish I had some bread, because that would be a great way to use up some of these ingredients I've got on the side here. An avocado toast salted salmon sandwich would be real tasty. Oh, check the progress on that thing. Okay. Yeah. Golden brown. Significantly less golden brown on that one. I think we're running out of... That's another thing. The way they soak up the butter makes me want to do these. I'll have to make some bread. I will have to make some bread. That's a little bit too late to make it now. for the show. But I will have to make some bread. We've used up all my bread. I've got some pita chips. Pita chips would be good with this stuff. Um, the fact that it soaks up the butter like that makes me think that if we oiled the exteriors of them and baked them, you'd get more evenness with less oil getting into the potatoes. And I'm confident that I'm not ruining a 1,000-year-old recipe because this is made of potatoes, which were not introduced to Japan until much more recently. Okay, I'm going to call those guys ready as well. Everybody's going to have to go back in the pan, but not by themselves, but rather with the sauce. Which is a bit of a sticky thing here. Bit of a sticky situation. And this time I am realizing that I need the rack to be on a tray, because the drips are going to drip off of these guys quite badly. They don't need a lot of time in the sauce. The recipe is recommended to either do what I'm doing here, or to brush the sauce onto them while when they were fresh off the out of the fry. And I've opted for this method. Although the sauce needed to be cooked either way. Because we're supposed to burn the alcohol off of it. Okay. And there you have them. Heat off, pan off. While they are hot, I'm putting a dash of cheese on top of the apple cheese ones. Okay. The last thing is to get some nori on them. Where's my nori? Oh, there it is. Which will stick while they are still damp. Okay, well, all the nori. Is this perforated? It is. Why do those? Well, it's not perforated so much as it's got lines in it. Well, my nori handles are not going to be very pretty. I think those are just ridges from where the sheet was when they cooked them. So you're only supposed to put nori on the ones you plan on eating. So we're only going to do 3 of them. Yeah. We're only going to do 3 of them. Because it says the nori will get soggy. Trim that one down a little bit so it's a little bit less ugly. I got to find those noris that come pre-perforated so that I don't have these ugly nori sheets. Oh, we're going to snooze that ad. That's good enough. That one's good enough. That one's a little ugly. Cool. Okay. Let's get out our plate. I've got a new plate. I've got a new plate, and I'm going to use it here because it's square and it has lines on it. Oh, you were not watching me. I was trimming these pieces of nori. This plate, it's square and it has lines on it. Ooh, boy, they got sticky when I added the sauce. They're almost like pancakes now, but like sticky. Although I think brushing the sauce on may have been the better choice in the long run. Okay. So 3 remaining. They're hot. They're very hot. Well, they're not very hot. They're uncomfortably hot, but not burn yourself hot. Oop, stick. Okay. That way. Okay. There they are. There's the things. Let's grab a photo. Oh, I just remembered. That I forgot to ever post a photo of the last thing I made. Jesus, almost dropped my tablet. Oh man, this took a while. We've gone long today. So let's speed through the end phase here. Oh man, the time flew today. Wow, I'm surprised. Which one should I taste first? Which one should I taste first? I'm gonna let you pick. You personally, you the one who is viewing now. Apple, okay, that's the one. That's this one. Let's give it a go. Oh, nope, I was wrong. I lost track of which one was which. That was the salmon one. Well, fate made our decision. This is mighty tasty. It's the salted salmon actually is very, very mild, which is good. Mm. It tastes like mashed potatoes, but it's got this sweet, savory, sticky glaze on the outside. The nori handles actually are super necessary for these with the sauce on them because they're very sticky. Okay, this one is the apple one. Let's try the apple one. Mmm. Ooh, that one's so good. The apple has a faint crispness to it, but the cheese. Whereas this one is definitely leans more into the salty, savory flavor. This guy amps up the creamy flavor. The cheese melds so well with the potato flavor. The apples are still a bit crisp. I think it would be better with a tartar apple, but I can see why cheese is a recommended filling. I imagine these things would be amazing with just a big chunk of cheese in the middle. And our crazy experiment, they're all crazy experiments, our avocado filling. I can taste it, but it's kind of mild. I think it's this one is the squidgiest one. The flavor is nice, but it's very understated. That bite had more flavor to it. I almost want to say I put too much avocado, and I should have left it in its initial state when it was slightly not enough avocado, because the potato kind of dilutes the other flavors in there. It's it's good, but it's not jumping out at me as anything. I like it. I also think the avocado filling is kind of squishing down as I take bites, so I'm not getting a ton of it in each nibble. So let's try one with a bunch of it. Oh yeah, yeah, that's exactly what was happening. It was kind of squishing down. That's a good combination. That that if it wasn't quite so sticky, oily on your fingers, you could serve that as a breakfast thing at like a Starbucks. Mm. And actually, when you get down to the nori, it it's a tech because this thing is they're very soft. They're very squidgy soft on the inside. The crispy layer on the outside is quite thin and is a little bit sogged because of the sauce, because of our sticky sauce. We're gonna snooze the ad for a third time because I'm not going to be here long enough. I'm going to wrap up before it goes. Um, the nori gives a texture contrast. I think that's why the apple one works so well as well, because the apple still has a little bit of crisp to it and gives you a textural contrast to the soft potato. So knowing that, you want something inside that's strongly flavored and has some texture to it, because it needs to balance out the squidgy soft and largely neutral flavor of the potato, which is, I'm sure, why the sauce is here too, because otherwise this would be kind of bland. The sauce was a pretty strong flavor. I'm going to finish this one. Mm, mm. The bites with the nori in it, especially for the avocado one, are the best bites. It makes me want to wrap the whole thing in nori or put some in the interior. The nori, I bet you the nori is really good on the salmon one as well. Um, the nori really makes it like pop. Okay. I don't think we did these perfectly, but I think we did a good job, and I think I know where where I would go with these again. I want to revisit this concept. Shaping them was much easier than I was expecting. Frying them was a little bit more tedious than I was expecting, and I think I can fix the frying part, and then we can work on flavors, and we could, yeah, it potentially could be like a party of things where you all have your own flavors and you shape these things. That'd be really neat. Anyways, with a big old griddle, or I'm going to test them in the oven at some point and see how that works. We could do them in the oven. My camera does not like this plate. We're going to wrap up. I know we've been running a little bit long. I've got a new friend here. Hi, friend. We've run a little bit longer than I was expecting. So we are going to wrap up there. I know exactly where we're going to go because Violet, our friend Inca Violet, who has rated us a couple of times, and we always appreciate, it is her birthday today. So we are going to take the love from here over to there and wish Violet a happy birthday. If you've never been to Violet's stream, she is an artist and a gamer. Today she's doing gaming. She has trading cards, her own custom-made digital trading cards that you can earn just by watching her channel. And then you can decorate up your own little avatar that appears on screen with her. It's a little tea bag that wears outfits, cosplay tea bag. It's adorable. It's super extra. Everybody go follow Violet. I'm going to finish this apple. I'm going to eat those 2 mochis I took bites out of. And then we are going to see you next time. Possibly for Filipino spaghetti, since I have the parts for it. Possibly for who knows what. Wild experiments into the blue yonder. It could be anything. Thanks for hanging out. Loved having you. Let's wait for this countdown to happen. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.